Hello and welcome to the special series of Nasscom Conversations.
We're big fans of augmented intelligence. We like to talk about augmented intelligence rather than artificial intelligence because we're big believers in bringing the human and the machine perspective together.
What we've seen so far, including days like NVIDIA and Tesla recently, is that that tech is actually holding its own, but other stocks are starting to show catalysts and signs of life.
Every single time I've come to India, I've had the benefit of talking to you about deep learning, had the benefit of talking to you about machine learning, and I think it's very, very clear now the world has completely changed.
This is Nasscom Conversations, hosted by Govindraj Ethiraj.
Welcome to another episode of Nasscom Conversations. NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang's latest visit to India has fired up our collective imagination about AI and artificial intelligence. If Huang got a rockstar reception across the country, it's because AI today itself offers such similar and exciting opportunities. Let's recap a little. In the last few years, AI has moved from being a behind-the-scenes enabler to something far more mainstream. Thanks, of course, to developments like ChatGPT and generative AI, which we can now feel in our daily lives. But with all this excitement around AI, where does the reality stand? What impact is it having on businesses, particularly consumer-facing ones? And most importantly, will AI put us out of our jobs? Not quite. If you are, well, actually stay tuned to find out as I speak with Srikanth Velamakanni, co-founder of Fractal Analytics. I kicked off by asking Srikanth to take us through how AI is augmenting human intelligence, automating processes, and in some cases even exceeding human capacity and potential. From healthcare to customer service, the applications for AI are endless and we're already experiencing them. We'll also explore how enterprises in India are embracing AI to transform their businesses and trying to stay ahead of the curve in this very rapidly evolving landscape.
So AI has been around for 70 plus years, almost 70 years. 1956, it was coined during a summer project, Dartmouth summer project. For the first 50 years, not a lot of action, even though some of the work has earned Nobel Prizes. As of last week, you saw 2 Nobel Prizes being awarded to AI scientists. Geoffrey Hinton for his work around creating deep learning networks, which he did in the 70s and 80s. And then the work done by Demis Hassabis and his team at DeepMind during the 2014 to 2020 era, which was about protein folding. So they won prizes for physics and chemistry. But let's say for the first 50 years of AI, there was hope and there were some believers, but there was a lot of skepticism as well that AI is just another snake oil that's being sold. It's never going to work. And there were 2 branches of AI. One was this, using rules, which was if then else rules, which was a computer science way of doing AI. And there was an electrical engineering way of doing AI, which was about neural networks, deeper, initially shallow, but then deeper neural networks. Now, it turns out that in 2006, when the same researchers met after, it was called AI at 50 conference. Some of them had died, but the ones who were alive, they all met up at this conference called AI at 50. Same place, Dartmouth again. And they were still arguing as to which one is going to win. But in the next 3-4 years, it became very clear that deep learning was a way of AI. And then it took off between 2010 and 2020 in a way that, yes, the common man probably didn't see it, except that they were experiencing it. For example, if you watch your YouTube video and it's very personalized, and there's the homepage on the first 3-4 tiles, you are all clickable. That's because it's taking a billion videos and picking out the 3 that are relevant to you right now at this point in time when you may be wanting to watch what is on the US presidential election. So it understands it and gives you that. So these kinds of things were happening even as early as 2012, 2013. We were seeing huge impact of AI in our lives. But it was invisible because it was being used to make my life easier, but I wasn't using it directly.
We've seen artificial intelligence rapidly evolve and make its impact felt across sectors. Recently, AI's potential for transforming drug discovery has been demonstrated by DeepMind's AlphaFold, which solved the complex problem of protein folding. Now, this innovation could accelerate drug discovery by predicting structures of almost all cataloged proteins, supporting research in several diseases and even antibiotic resistance. Additionally, AI models also help in pandemic prediction and targeted treatment development.
It is one of the favorite topics for everyone because we know healthcare is broken around the world and it needs to be fixed. So just about a week after ChatGPT was launched, there was a guy called Peak Cooper. His Twitter handle was at Peak Cooper. He basically talked about how his dog was saved with AI. This is very interesting because his dog was anemic. It was about to die. He had taken the dog to a number of vets, and the vets had concluded that, look, nothing can be done. And we can't figure out what's going on. It's anemic. It's losing blood. And then he was about to give up. Then he said, there's something called ChatGPT, which has been launched, and GPT-4 was launched that week. So he took all the medical reports and put it into GPT-4 and said, tell me what could be happening to my dog. And while GPT-4 clarified that, look, I'm not a vet, I don't necessarily know all of this stuff, it gave him two important hypotheses. He took this report, went back to the vet and said, this is what my GPT-4 is saying. Does it sound sensible? And the vet says, yeah, this is one of the things I did not check on. Maybe GPT-4 is right. And literally within a couple of weeks, the dog is all right. So this is an example that where human beings, we have some strengths, but we have a number of weaknesses. Like we have low attention span. We cannot process too much information at the same time. We get distracted. We have other priorities. It's really, really large. I may be getting the number wrong by a bit, but it's safe to say that no doctor in the world can read all the papers published in their specialty in a single year. It's impossible for them to be practicing and doing this at the same time.
AI applications in healthcare are evidently scaling significantly, especially with generative AI's role in enhancing clinical decision support, medical imaging, and chronic care management. For example, healthcare leaders are increasingly adopting generative AI for complex diagnostics and personalized care planning. In 2024, tools like Hippocratic AI are being used or explored to bridge gaps in healthcare staffing. Similarly, in diagnostics, AlphaFold success in protein structure prediction could actually cut drug discovery timelines and thus bringing treatments to market faster. According to some reports, companies who are using AI-enabled predictive models report up to a 20% reduction in maintenance costs. And in India, investments for AI for manufacturing are expected to support the growing industrial automation sector.
Take an example of any customer service center. Now, let's say your car broke down and you wanted to call and figure out what are the terms and conditions of your insurance plan and what is eligible, etc. Now, when you make this phone call, it takes a long time for the customer service agent to understand your plan, limitations, and give you precisely the right answers very, very quickly. So what now is happening is we are creating systems which are called agent assist. The agent was still answering my questions, but the agent now has a search interface where she or he can quickly get the right information and then answer the questions, reduce escalations, reduce the call handling time, and reduce the error rate dramatically from 10% to almost 2%. It is one of the fastest growing use cases now is making sure all the agents, contact centers that we all talk to for various kinds of problem solving, they're all using AI in order to make their lives better. So one example is Fractal does this thing for HDFC Bank. It's called EVA, the chatbot that they use. It does the work of 1,500 agents already. The number of questions it answers, it augments or it substitutes for 1,500 workers, and it generates 50,000 leads for HDFC Bank every month. That's very powerful system.
Augmented intelligence, which is distinct from fully autonomous artificial intelligence, and we'll come to that, is increasingly used to support and enhance human decision-making across fields. To pick another healthcare example, a recent collaboration between Manet Health and the American Medical Association explored augmented intelligence's role in healthcare. In customer support and service industries, augmented intelligence is being used to provide real-time assistance to agents.
See, there's practically no difference, except that AI, when it used in order to improve human performance, I would call it augmented intelligence. So AI, when designed to be autonomous, doing its own thing because it's doing a part of a job or it is automating a part of a task, is automation. But when it is used, specifically designed to interact with human beings in order to drive human performance to the next level, I think that's augmented intelligence. Elon Musk is driving one vision of this, which he's calling as Tesla's autopilot system, where the idea is that it does most of the job, but you have to pay attention. It's learning, it's driving most of the time, but you need to be in attention. You still have a steering wheel. You still have to take over when something goes wrong and drive the car to safety. That's the expectation of Elon Musk's technology. It's because it's not level 4, level 5 certified. Now, autonomous driving comes from level 1 to level 5. Level 1 is a basic automation. Level 2 is already sort of doing most of the job. Level 3, 4, and 5. Now, level 3 is where Tesla is, where it does the driving most of the time, but the human being is still the driver. He or she has to make the decisions if in a crunch situation. And level 4 is the first time when it says you don't need the human being to drive the car at all. In fact, what Waymo is doing, it's Google's subsidiary, Waymo is doing, is it's saying that you don't need a steering wheel. It's already doing 100,000 rides a week in 3 cities, in San Francisco, in Los Angeles, and Phoenix. So its thinking is that let me build one very good driver, the software driver. They're thinking of building one driver and the driver drives the car. Now, Tesla's vision is still augmented. They're saying it'll do the job 95% of the time. The trick with that is when you design a system for working 95% of the time and you expect the human beings to smoothly take over 5% of the time, it has to be designed better than where the Tesla is right now.
If you look at the AI side of the innovation, that's happening consistently, and it could be happening in Bay Area, it could be happening in India, anywhere. But that's a linear path that's going on. Where it comes and meets the human side is also a function of how smart the humans are and how they're able to use the technology to better, let's say, achieve a business outcome. So my question now is, how good are we on the human side, particularly since the human side is also regional, local, business specific? I mean, you quoted some examples of a bank and how that bank is using it. But my question is really that. I mean, how good are we on the human side, and what do we need to do to become smarter and better as humans in using the AI for better business outcomes?
I think this wave of AI is saying, look, I will meet you where you are. I'll understand whether you're speaking in English or Marathi. Whether you're speaking in full sentences or half sentences, whether your thoughts are clear or not clear, whether your questions or doubts are clear or not clear. I'll make the best use of this and then help you out from where you are to where you want to go. Therefore, it will be helpful for people to understand where the AI tools are, play around with them, and get better. Now, as Nasscom, what we have to do is that we have to make everyone in our country AI literate. It'll be very useful for us to make everyone AI literate, not in the way of understanding the mathematics behind. The biggest advances that are happening are in agentic systems and reasoning. If I can have 1 million people understand how to build AI agents that can automate and augment tasks, we know that India will leapfrog to the next level of this IT wave.
India's AI landscape is rapidly evolving thanks to government initiatives and private sector momentum. Recent government actions like the 2024 Global India AI Summit underscore the country's commitment to democratizing AI and setting a global standard for AI use in areas like safe, ethical practices, compute capacity, and foundational models. India's national AI strategy and India AI mission are fairly strong frameworks aimed at addressing domestic demands while establishing India as a key player on the global AI stage. There are some estimates which say that by 2025, AI could add between $450 to $500 billion to India's GDP.
So one is this whole area of building foundation models. These are the basic building blocks of all AI. And the race is between OpenAI, Google, Anthropic, and a bunch of other companies. They need access to hundreds of thousands of GPUs. They need extraordinary talent. Then they need patient capital to make all of this work. So that is at a scale which may not be easy for India to aspire to. But there is a next step, which is around using these foundation models, which could become like utilities. Eventually, they'll become so commonplace, easily accessible, that we don't even have to worry about how they're getting produced. So let's say we are all trying to build a website. Now, can you have a developer, a tester, a debugger, somebody who's project manager, a product manager, multiple roles of people work in creating, let's say, a website. But what if I can replicate that with AI agents? That's something that will be very powerful for, let's say, the Indian software industry, if we can use AI agents to build the new wave of software that we sort of build for the whole world. So that's one area. Second area is to bring more reasoning capabilities into the AI system.
As India continues to take a larger role in the global AI landscape, both within the country and internationally, there are, of course, key ethical and societal considerations we need to address. How can we proactively prepare for these challenges and ensure that India stays ahead in creating responsible AI systems?
With great power comes great responsibility. And the idea of that is AI fundamentally has to be safe. So if AI, we give a lot of, let's say, autonomous capacity to AI, what if it can do something really harmful? And how do you make sure that you can stop it, or you design safety into the way it is built in the first place? So this is a whole area called AI safety, which is to make sure that AI never goes beyond its remit and doesn't do any damage. These are all the kinds of things you have to look at, which are part of a system called responsible AI. Now, this is an area that is very, very crucial. Nasscom has done a lot of work in building the responsible AI recommendations for India. But India needs to incorporate a full-fledged responsible AI principles, guidelines, and toolkits. And then another way of doing it is to make sure that some of the most clear, the very powerful AI is not let out without clear regulatory approvals and so on. So for the basic AI, self-certification, but for extremely powerful AI, there may be a time that might come when we may have to make sure that this kind of AI doesn't escape the lab, and so to speak.
In October 24, Reliance and NVIDIA announced a partnership to develop large-scale AI infrastructure in India, aiming to democratize AI access while leveraging India's tech talent and vast data resources. Now, this also aligns with the global push for responsible AI growth. Global AI leaders, including India, are now advocating for regulatory frameworks to control those powerful AI applications, similar to global efforts seen in nuclear technology, ensuring that there is safety and, of course, ethical deployment across borders.
Think about AI as like nuclear technology back in the 1940s and 30s. So we need, at some point of time, global cooperation on very powerful AI. That kind of AI is not yet there. I think today's AI is relatively primitive compared to what might happen in the next, let's say, 3 to 4 years, maybe 5 years. Even before we get to that place, is it possible that various countries in the world can come together and say that we can create this International Atomic Energy Agency like platform so that some basics are guaranteed? For example, that we will not use AI in autonomous weapons. Unfortunately, the train may have left the station on that one. It's already, my guess is that many countries in the world are already building AI into their autonomous weapons. Can we restrict AI from being part of, let's say, bioweapons or hacking or cybersecurity or cyber attacks? Can we make sure that at least some places we are controlling the kind of dangerous AI that could be out there? Then that would be helpful in various countries coming together and saying that these are the use cases where we will not use it. And also this is the way we'll govern. There'll be a set of standards across the world in the way AI is used. The best example also I can come up with is how airlines have cracked this problem. Over the years, right? Every airport has a 3-letter code. It's globally accepted. There is an air traffic control that's set up. There's a two-pilot system. There's a two-pilot system for navigated plane. There's an autopilot versus manual system. There are a bunch of safety features globally agreed on that happened in the world of aviation to make aviation safe, to make sure that therefore aviation is one of the safest industries. Just imagine, aviation could have been very risky, but we made it very safe because of very proactive safety considerations in the way we designed these planes, and we designed the systems around these planes, including air traffic control. What if we can design that for AI as well? And that's a huge possibility which can happen with global coordination between various kinds of countries and various kinds of non-profit bodies.
The International Civil Aviation Organization sets global safety standards, and many experts argue for a similar international body to oversee AI, focusing on responsible AI development, transparency, and ethical use, as we've been discussing. India is emerging as a key advocate for such a framework with initiatives like the Global Partnership on Artificial Intelligence, or GPAI, which India led in 2023. And now India is positioned to contribute significantly to global AI governance as well.
India has been asking for it, the GPAI, which is a global partnership on AI. India led it last year So these kinds of questions did come up and these kinds of things have been suggested. It is still, let's say, not broadly agreed that this has to be done. It still seems like an arms race where any country thinks that, look, if I'm part of this and somehow self-censor myself or reduce the pace of development, then maybe some other country which has not signed this treaty is going to be far ahead of me. So we haven't had a Hiroshima-like moment. We must continue to have a dialogue with the rest of the world and see if India can play a role. We will be far more credible if we also have powerful AI. But historically, only the powerful get hurt. I would say that let's build the powerful AI in India. Let's build our own projects. One of my recommendations has been, what if we can take this threat and opportunity as seriously as we took the space opportunity back in the 1950s when we created ISRO, or we created Bhabha Atomic Research Center in the 1950s. What if we can take a similar approach to building a department of AI within India to discuss AGI, artificial general intelligence? And these risks become very big as we approach AGI.
So one of the things that your own company does is scan X-rays for tuberculosis symptoms. That's an example of, let's say, how healthcare problems can be resolved or addressed at scale, particularly remotely in countries like India. Is there any other such problem that you're thinking of or wanting to, bring technology to bear?
So Cure.ai did that for tuberculosis. It's game-changing. I think it's still not been implemented across the country. It has a real opportunity to reduce fatalities in India through tuberculosis. It is one of the largest killers in the developing world. We have reached 20 million people around the world, but 20 million is a drop in the bucket compared to the 1.4 billion people of our country and 8 billion people on the planet. So I would ideally like it to reach everyone. Secondly, we looked at lung cancer and looked at how we can diagnose lung cancer. The third thing, this is very new. And since the Nobel Prize of the last couple of weeks and the work that DeepMind has done, one of the ideas that I have for India is, what if we have an AI native healthcare company that is doing drug discovery for challenges that India needs to solve?
So in the broader debate between augmented intelligence and automation, how do we think of young engineers and those entering the job market, and how can they best align themselves with the opportunities that are opening up in this space? How can they prepare themselves without being overwhelmed by these rapid advancements and take advantage and take control?
Yeah, first of all, I would say that for young students, it's very important to get the basics of your engineering and math education. If you are a budding engineer in the AI space, it's still important to learn probability, statistics, linear algebra, and basics of coding. Even though a lot of tools have come in, you still have to learn them because you have to be even better than those tools and use those tools effectively. So that's number one. Number two, I would absolutely invest in learning the basic code assistant tools, right, that can help you write code using AI. These have become very popular and they can improve the coding productivity by 50 to 100%.
And that brings us to the end of today's conversation with Srikanth Velamakanni. We've explored the vast impact of AI from transforming industries like healthcare and customer service, where we can experience it already, to how it augments today and tomorrow human intelligence and drives innovation in real-world applications. Srikanth shared some very insightful examples of AI saving lives, streamlining business operations, and even enhancing decision-making in finance and support. As AI continues to evolve, the balance between augmented intelligence and automation will now shape how we harness its full potential. What is very clear is that India has a significant role to play, not just in advancing AI technology, but also in ensuring its responsible and ethical use. And for young professionals entering this space, now is the time to build foundational skills while staying curious and adaptable in this rapidly shifting landscape. So it's an opportunity. And we thank Srikanth for joining in with his valuable insights. And thank you to our listeners for joining us as well. And stay tuned for more conversations on the cutting edge of technology with Nasscom Conversations.
You've been listening to Nasscom Conversations hosted by Govindraj Ethiraj. This is a joint production between Nasscom and The Core. Do subscribe to us on your favorite podcast app. We're available on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and all the major podcast apps. If you have any feedback, you can write to us at feedback@thecore.in. Thank you for listening.